SOTA was launched on the 2nd of March 2002, so it is 20 years old this year. Now, this document here, Summits on the Air, this is a little leaflet which is on the Summits on the Air website. Now, this is dated 2016, so some of this is a little bit out of date because they're saying 118 associations around the world and over 10,000 registered users with nearly 5,000 activators and 100,000 qualifying summits. I think there's going to be slightly more than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is for sure.
But Summits on the Air, so basically it's... would you class it as a... So it's classed here a lot as an award scheme, but I would class it more as a sport, an outdoor activity, an outdoor sport, would you?
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's kind of... The beauty of amateur radio for so many things is that it is what you make it, right? It's whatever it is to you, right? So you can do... I mean, people do contesting, right? But they're not even... There's so much light shining off my friggin' bald... There's so... It's 1080p, boys.
Yeah.
It's irritating. Right.
Turn your light off.
So vain. It's not even this light. It's this one. Anyway, it's whatever you make of the thing, right? So people do contests, right? People contest, but their primary goal isn't to win. It's not to get points. They just want a DX, right? And so if you're looking for, like, say you're trying to work all states in the US, doing it on a contest weekend makes perfect sense, right? Because it's just a great way to do it. So, and Summits on the Air is the same, right? So there are people that do big miles, they run, they hike, they climb. That's great. And there are summits that accommodate that, but at the same time, there are tons and tons of summits that are the complete opposite of that. They're super casual. You go for a walk, you walk for 5, 10, 15 minutes. You may not even do any elevation. A lot of summits that are small, you can drive to the top of, and so it's essentially just parks on the air, but with more elevation, so you can, there's a big variety.
That's a great segue because old Fart of my BMX says, how different is it to POTA?
Yeah, awesome. So probably the biggest difference really between SOTA and POTA is if you look at the average SOTA, I mean, POTA, generally you're driving up and you're hopping out of the wagon onto a park bench or you're operating out of your boot. Some people go for little walks, which is awesome. Like Mike does plenty of videos where he does a walk. He doesn't have to walk. He could activate anywhere in that park, but he wants to go and explore and walk around, and that's awesome. Mike, you know what I'm talking about. Motor, Mike, awesome YouTube
MRD.
channel.
Yep.
That's it. But so you can go for walks with parks, but generally speaking, you can't just drive there, hop out of the wagon. You can do that with a small number of summits on the air. They're called drive ups, whereby you can drive right to the top, and that's cool. But the majority of them, there will be a bit more walking. Now, as I've already said, it's not necessarily a lot. It shouldn't be intimidating. There are plenty of peaks that are for 5-minute walk, 5, 10, 15 minutes. So there's that. And the other big difference is generally parks, almost the vast majority of POTA is QRO. It's folks running 100 watts, and the vast majority of people running SOTA is QRP. So if you're really into, and obviously there are plenty of people that do POTA QRP, but there are plenty of polls and stuff that have been done on Facebook and forums and stuff about how much power POTA guys are using, and ladies, and it's 100 watts. So if you're more into the QRP thing, SOTA might be more of a, you'll find more QRP operators doing SOTA. But yeah, if you're into running the 100 watts, then yeah, POTA is great. So POTA, because of that 100 watt thing, I think if you're an SSB focused operator, that's why the CW is really big in SOTA, because you don't want to carry a heap you don't want to carry a heap of gear, right? So you're running low power, small radios, little batteries, and those are the two big differences in my opinion.
Yeah. There is another big difference here. So SOTA, encourages people to get onto mountaintops, get out, and activate, to enjoy the outdoors. But not only that, so POTA is kind of similar as well, because you've got those who might chase parks stations. So you've got two. You've got the same with SOTA. You've got activators who actually go out physically to the mountaintops or hilltops and activate them for points. But then you've also got chasers as well, who can stay in the comfort of their own shack and work these stations, and they can also get similar or the same awards to what you would activating. So it's not just, if you want to do SOTA, you don't necessarily have to go out and activate peaks, but you can still be a chaser as well. So that's a real basic overview of what SOTA is. Basically, hot hill walking plus radio. Is SOTA. And as you mentioned as well, the main thing about it is to make it enjoyable for yourself. Like, don't push yourself if you think, oh, I'm going to, you don't need to go and run 10 miles to the top of the peak or whatever like that. Just try and find a summit that's, maybe a little bit lower, and you can go and activate that.
Yeah, the easiest way to do that is all you have to do is go on to the SOTA Atlas, SOTL.AS. I know it's a weird looking domain, but it's a domain, SOTL.AS. Go there, find where you live, scroll in to the area that you live, and look at the peaks that have the most activations. The peak with the most activations will be super easy to get to, almost every single time. Look for the ones that have heaps of activations, and then you can click on it, and most of them have GPS plots for you as well. It'll tell you exactly how to get there. So the ones that have been done heaps, they will be the easy ones.
Yep. So the next thing that we're going to cover, so the things we're going to cover tonight is what is SOTA, equipment, what you need to do before you head out, rules and awards, if we get time, of course. And there's a couple of questions I've seen coming in about what you can do and what you can't do for SOTA, some questions. Just a comment that I noticed that Peter VK3 ZPF says different SOTA points based on elevation, not difficulty. So correct. Usually the more elevated peaks are sometimes more difficult. But then, as you said, sometimes you've got the drive to summits. Like we've got a summit here, which you can drive all the way to the top. But as far as activating is concerned, you can't activate from the car. You need to be activating within 25 meters of the summit, and not any more than 25 meters vertically from the top of the summit. But there's some of the rules that we'll go into a little bit later on. But actually getting to the summit, you don't have to, just because it's summits on the air, you don't have to walk the whole track to get to the top of a mountain if there's a way to get to the top.
Absolutely.
So Bridget says, about to get my 705 this week for SOTA and POTA, my first serious radio. So that is awesome, and that's a great segue into our next subject, which is equipment. What kind of equipment should you bring on a SOTA trip?
You can bring whatever you've got. Now, that advice is far more applicable to POTA. For SOTA, I mean, you can take whatever you want, and if it is going to be a drive up or a really short walk, then you can bring whatever you want. And I would encourage people to do the easy one, do easy stuff first, right? So go and just have a crack at it. Find something easy that lots of people have done. There's heaps of beta on. There's heaps of information on how to get there. So you don't have to do any real investigation. You just read what it says on the internet. You go and do it, and you see if you like it. And because it's going to be easy to get there, you can just take whatever you want. You can take your base station. The biggest thing that your average amateur radio operator may not have is your battery. You're probably going to have some kind of radio, but the battery is the thing. Is you're going to need to get yourself some kind of 12-volt battery. Then from there, the sky is really the limit. It can be really expensive. Little QRP radios are really expensive, like super expensive. Like the 705 and VK, that's like $2,000, right?
Yeah, something like that, $2,500. Just before we continue, Nick, KC1PBW, soda in the hay plane, standing on a milk crate, $10 super chat. Thank you very much there, Nick.
I'm not going to spill my tea.
Yeah, don't spill your tea. Don't spill your tea again.
He needs some milk.
The old milk crate. There we go. That was a good little segue. So equipment, I guess, lightweight is probably the go-to when you're looking for equipment. So 705, relatively lightweight, although it is a little bit heavier than some QRP rigs like the 817 or some of the if you want to buy like a Pixie or other if you're doing CW or other I know that you're shaking your head.
Don't buy a Pixie.
No, you use the Ellercraft KX2?
Yeah, I use either the KX2 or an 817. Yaesu 817.
Yeah. So they're nice, nice lightweight rigs. And as far as antennas, on a lot of summits, at least here in Australia, we have a lot of trigonometry points which are on the top of mountains to indicate the top of the mountain. So at least you've got something that you can strap a squid pole to, a telescopic pole, and you can then get away with something like an end-fed half wave like this, or you could use a linked dipole if you can support that as well. But sometimes even activating from the top of a summit, that's for HF, but even activating from the top of a summit, Ox Radio says, can you activate on 2 meters as well, like I did my first peak? You can activate on any band, or you could just do something as simple as having a handheld running 2 meters or 70 centimeters. That will allow you to work heaps of stations and activate a SOTA summit, provided you can get enough contacts, which we'll go into for the rules as well. But yeah, I think lightweight is the way to go with equipment.
Yeah, and so the VHF, UHF party, that's awesome, but it's only going to be possible in places with this high population density. Because if you don't have that, you're really going to struggle.
Yeah, because you're going to have limited range. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're in San Diego hanging out with Adam, let's try again. Ready? Go again on 3. 1, 2, 3. Bananas. If you're hanging out in San Diego with Adam, right, or you're in LA or something, it's going to be easy. You're going to have a great time. You got an awesome amateur radio community hanging out there. But yeah, if you live somewhere that's far more remote, an HT is just not going to work for you.
Yeah. That's correct. So if you're in as you say, populated area, so like where I live, a lot of our SOTA summits, at least here around the city, there's plenty of them. You'll definitely, all you need to do is go out with a handheld. That's easy because you don't really need to carry an awful lot of gear. A bottle of water, your radio, and just go for a walk.
Awesome.
Peter says SOTA on 40 meters SSB is the easiest in most places. So the most popular bands, I think, at least on for SOTA, are probably 40 and 20. 40 and 20. You're going to be doing a lot of your walking in the day. So they're the good daytime bands on HF at least.
Yeah, it depends if my perspective's a bit warped because I live in an island in the middle of nowhere. So, excuse me. So if you're looking for invis and solar minimum, 40 is not going to do it for you. 7 megs isn't going to do it for you. You're going to need 5 megs, or you're going to need to go into 80 meters or something. But generally speaking, yeah, that's very true. 7 megs SSB.
Justin says CW only. No, so it's all modes, any mode you want. CW, there is a massive following for SOTA CW because you can get so many QRP contacts using CW, and it's a lot easier than single sideband. So and also you can also bring gear that's a lot smaller as well. But things like we did a stream a few weeks ago, getting something like a LiPo 4 battery, something that's lightweight that you can put in a backpack, and use the minimum to get on the air with.
Yeah, if you're going lightweight, you're not going to be running a LiPo 4 battery because that's the energy density. That's like the third time. The energy density is not dense enough, right? So you're going to be running lithium ions or LiPo. Like LiPo 4, that's a POTA battery.
Yeah. See, Jay says here, so many satellites are 70 centimeters up and 2 meters down. SOTA satellite operations are gaining here. So that's that's even more challenging, is trying to operate via satellite to get the required number of contacts on a SOTA summit. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, man. Adam's done that on a video.
Yeah, and just to finish up on equipment, Peter says, use what you have, improve as you do more. I started with a 1970s vintage FT7 and a 7 amp hour seal lead acid battery. So not the lightest thing in the world. So you are correct, yeah. If you're just starting out, use what you have. But if you don't have anything, and that is something that you want to go towards and do quite often, then look at stuff that's a little bit more lightweight, and it'll make your life a little bit easier.
Yeah, don't go spending $4,000 on kit for a program you might hate.
No, correct. And also, if you are going to be operating from home, probably don't go buying a QRP radio and then use that as your main base station at home, because you'll get frustrated really quickly. QRP on top of a mountaintop is actually, it's a lot easier, lower noise levels, and you kind of are limited to how much power is required. Or how much power you've got, depending on the size battery that you've got. So, I wouldn't be dragging like a 7300 up on top of a mountain, although Adam's done that too.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, because QRP is great, but QRP operators are gonna struggle getting heard, not hearing, right? So you've got to keep in mind that if you are it's gonna be easier to hunt POTA than it is to chase SOTA, because people running parks are running 100 watts, and they're going to have a much easier time breaking your home noise floor. But if you're chasing SOTA, they're going to be running very, very low power, and it can be incredibly hard to pick them out of the noise if you're not in a super low noise area. The best chasers for someone's on the air have excellent antennas. They've got great ears, and they're very low noise. It's very hard to chase someone's on the air if you've got an S5 noise floor at home on SSB.
Yeah. And Ben just flashed up a comment there from Peter saying that 5 watts CW works as well as 100 watts SSB, but not as many operators on. And Ben says, checking out the link, Chris said before, lots of summits around here, not many activated. We will show that link in a second. So moving on from equipment, just very quickly, the rules around SOTA. There is rules which are posted all on the SOTA website, which I believe is in the link in the description below. But if not, you can go to this website, which I'll put in the chat, and that will take you to where the rules are. But most of the rules are mainly to do with how far away from the summit you can activate. You can't activate more than a certain distance, which is, as we mentioned before, 25 meters. You can't operate from your car. And the other rule, you can still go to a SOTA summit and operate from there, and you can still put in your log that you get, that you generate from the contacts that you make, but you do require at least 4 contacts to successfully activate a summit to get the points for that activation. Of course, if you go to a SOTA summit and you only get 2 contacts, make sure that you still put a log in to the SOTA website, and all the information on logging is on that website, because people that are chasing you, they get the points as well. So just something to keep in mind.
So activating, if you get 1 contact, you've activated the peak, but you won't get points unless you get your 4.
Yeah. So that's right. Yeah, Peter says 25 vertical meters from the peak. Now, I'll just tag that comment because I want to show that later. Awards. So awards. This is a big reason why a lot of people do SOTA, is so that they can get awards and trophies such as these. There is quite a few different certificates and trophies depending on if you're an activator or a chaser. So if you're a chaser, Shack Sloth Award, and if you are a activator, Mountain Goat, and there's some different eligibility requirements for those. Have you got any awards yet, Chris?
Oh, I do, but I haven't put in for them. But yeah, I'm sure I have some of them, but I haven't.
Some interesting awards here. So I didn't. Mountain Hunter, so that's VHF and above. Summit to Summit. So the other thing we didn't mention is Summit to Summit as well. You get extra points for Summit to Summit contacts as well, don't you?
You get the same number of points, but it's counted as a chase for your chaser points.
Oh, yes.
And there are awards for number of Summit to Summits.
Yep.
And it's just fun. People just like racking them up.
And microwave awards here too. So one thing that is common, at least down here, is VHF and UHF microwave days, and we operate from high mountaintops, which are usually summits. So we can gain points for those in the field day, and at the same time, we can also gain the contacts for summits on the air. So that's also very handy.
Yeah, man. And then you got SOTA completes, which are just it's a SOTA complete is I went up a mountain, activated it, Hayden chased me, and then some other time Hayden goes up and activates it, and I chase him, and that's a complete. I
And
both chased and activated.
And as you're making your contacts, you get added to a activator roll of honor, and here is all of ZL, and look who is sitting at number 3 at the moment. That's quite a good effort. So you've activated 88 summits, and you have 544 points. So
yeah, it's pretty. If you compare that, I mean, I haven't been out in 9 months maybe, but yeah, if you compare that, every association is different. So that's New Zealand. In fact, that's North and South Island. So those are 2 different associations, ZL1 and ZL3. It's a lot. It's a very different association to other places in the world. It's really hard to get points. So as you can see, we only have one operator in ZL3 that has mountain goat, and that guy, it's his job. He basically did it full time for a year and just lived in the mountains, which is amazing. But yeah, he's the only person that's even close.
And one thing that we didn't
doing it for ages, like 7 years something.
Yeah, and the one thing that we didn't mention before is that, which we will go into now with the looking at this map. So this is Tasmania, but there's different points for the heights of the different peaks. So it's going to vary depending on where you live. So we've got quite a lot of what they call 10-pointers here. So this one here is pretty much the closest and easiest one to access to where I live. So that's
60 activations.
because it's very easy because you can drive all the way there. So this is 10 points. Now the +3 here, that was a question that was asked earlier on, which was I think by HCY0, speaking about different points in winter. That's their bonus points for winter activations, so that rather than sitting at home and not getting out, you can get extra points for activating during winter.
Yeah, we don't have it, so I can't speak with complete authority on it, but I'm pretty sure some regions also have a summer bonus as well. For I think it might be Arizona, places like that where it's super, super hot in the middle of summer.
Where it's challenging.
With that, so they can have both, right? And some associations, you can't compare associations. Everyone's mountains are different, but you can just look at that. You look at the number of people, and you kind of you can say, okay, sweet. What's an average score? How many mountains are there on average? But they're also different in terms of the height ranges, right? So a 10-pointer in Tasmania, what was that, bud? Was that 1,200 vertical meters?
1270.
Yeah, so that's barely a 4-pointer.
Exactly.
In ZL3, so every association is really, really different. So you're just kind of playing in your own sandbox. But yeah, those bonus points, I think you can get them in summer as well.
Because some of these, not that one, this one here. So this is a 6-pointer, 822 meters. That's just barely a hill for you. So, and just looking at that, a lot of these mountains also are in fairly hard to access areas, but then again, some of these easier ones, these green dots, which are lower in elevation, they're quite easy to access. So some of them are drive to, some of them aren't as long to walk. Some of them are quite nice walks as well. So you sort of need to, you can have a look, and if we go down here to ZL4, look at the amount of mountains you've got. It's just ridiculous along the west coast here.
Yeah, good luck getting to them. It's one of the most remote places on Earth.
Yeah, exactly. And some people find that challenging, and they take up that challenge.
Yeah, for sure.
But the amount of some of these 2,000 meters, and if we click on the equivalent 6-pointer in VK was 800 meters. This is 1,741 meters. That's taller than the tallest mountain in my state. So,
and access is a nightmare getting in there.
Yeah, and you've got so many peaks that are some of these peaks are higher than the tallest mountains in Australia. So, it's a real challenge, but some people enjoy doing that. And if we go up to somewhere like Queensland, where you can see there that there's a lot of mountains, or a lot of green, because there isn't as many, because it's a lot flatter up there. There are some exceptions there, of course, but yeah, it does vary depending on what association and where you live.
Yeah, it's very hard. Like you can't even so Hayden's in VK7 down there. It's not comparable. Like VK7 and VK3, they're not comparable. Everyone's got a different association. They're all different. Everyone's hills are different. They're just and the reason that it's not uniform for everybody all across the world is just for engagement purposes, right? Like if they took the ZL3 height banding and put that across the world, they'd be cut like Hayden. They'd be stuffed. Like like it would 100%. It'd flatten. There'd be way less engagement. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it's very common to go to look in another country and see 10 pointers that are 900 meters tall, or there's a train to the top, or whatever it is. Every association is very, very different. So at the end of the day, it's really just about getting out and exploring, wherever you live.
Yeah, exactly.
And the points are secondary.
Yeah, it's about having fun is the first thing, definitely. Just going through here. So just a couple of shout outs here. Andy's in the house too. Good to see you, Andy, as always.
Hey, mate.
Graham, VK3 GEK. Love Poda, but haven't tried SOTA. We've got Covain, who says, dang, I'm late. Not quite. We're still going. We're overtime as usual.
No.
And Kwana will lead us into our final segment. Don't forget to test all your stuff before you leave the house to the SOTA Summit. That is good advice. So preparing before heading out is a very good thing to do, not only for your equipment, but also what you pack as well. So if you're heading to a summit, and that's the main thing with a lot of this stuff too, with SOTA compared to Parks on the Air, is you need to make sure that you're safe in the activity that you're doing, because especially like we talked even about, we saw Bridget said about Arizona with rattlesnakes, and here in Australia we have snakes as well in summer, and dehydration and the weather setting in and getting lost and snow and all sorts of things that you need to take into account. So the number one thing is to make sure that you do this safely as well. So like packing water, have your mobile phone, your radio as well, which is good because you're carrying a radio. So if you do get into trouble, you've got that backup. And some other things that you can think of that you should also bring along.
Yeah, I mean, it's so, as I say, like I've done mountains that are big effort, right? That take a long time and a lot of experience and fitness to get to, and that's cool. That's just because I did that because it interested me. But so there's a couple of points in there. So there's a thing about about checking your gear. I almost never pre-check my gear, but when I'm doing SOTA, I'm doing it a lot. So my gear is getting used, once or twice a week. But I have backups for everything. I've got a backup antenna. I've got backup coax. If I'm even using coax, I've got backup transformers. The only thing I don't generally take a backup for is my rig, my KX2, because I trust that thing. I've got a mountain topper coming, and I might chuck that in just for a laugh as a backup radio. But generally, I trust that aircraft rig so much that I don't need a friggin' backup radio for it. But yeah, in terms of the safety thing, that it really is a huge point. It's very specific to where you live. Everyone has their own challenges. I don't have to deal with snakes. In fact, I don't have to deal with any sort of aggressive wildlife other than kids that want to rip everything to bits. But they're probably not going to kill me.
Probably.
But it is, yeah, hopefully. But for example, we have in the summer here, it's incredibly hot, and in the mountains, it's incredibly dry. It's incredibly exposed, and the weather changes on a dime, and that's how people die. We also have a lot of snow. So at the moment, we've got really unstable snow. Hayden and I we lived to tell the tale, but we just lived through a massive storm system that rolled through and just dumped meters of snow. And so it's super, if you're in the snow, mountaineers die from avalanches all the time. Even just hikers that are hiking where they shouldn't be, or people that are skiing, out the back of resorts, they die from avalanches. So that kind of stuff, yeah, you want to go. I think there was a comment in there from Peter again, which is a great comment. Thank you, Peter. It's go with someone that's done it before, and just start small. You're going to figure out what you need after you've done it a few times, and you'll just learn by doing. And that's the fun. That's the fun of ham radio or anything. It's just learning by doing, having a crack and seeing what you need. Everyone does things slightly differently. But yeah, take water, take some, like the basic, the basic survival stuff you would expect to take, right? Like shelter and food and water and all that jazz.
Yeah. And great point there by Peter. And if you're going with someone else, sometimes it's much more fun. I mean, here's my SOTA activation here where I went with Justin in the background here. And that was great because I could learn about the, activation. I could learn about, logging, what frequencies, how to spot as well. So the other thing is self-spotting is allowed. So make sure that you self-spot so that people know what frequency you're on so that they can activate you at the time because they'll get alerts, through various channels. And then also, just like I had a paper log that day, but now I've found, an app on my phone, which is a lot easier to log because I can just, punch in those contacts real easy. But, you do learn a lot from having someone with you. So definitely that's probably that's a very, very good piece of advice.
Yeah, no, but again, we're so spoiled for choice in this hobby in terms of what we can do. There's so much stuff. So I love summits on the air, but I love parks on the air too. I've done very little parks on the air because up until very recently there hasn't been any official POTA parks. But it's whatever you're into. There's so many things we can do. Summits on the air might be for you, it might not be, but I really like it.
Nick says also practice carry in, carry out. Do not leave your garbage behind. Very, very good advice. Yes, don't go leaving rubbish wherever you're going because a lot of these places are parks and national parks and places that need to be protected. So thank you
even
for the $5 super chat.
Even if they're not,
Here comes the money.
Thank you, mate. Oh, the thing cut off. But 100%. But honestly, if you are walking down the street throwing, no one watching this is, right?
No.
Because this is the Ham Radio family and we're all awesome and I appreciate you. But if you're the kind of person that's walking down the street throwing trash on the sidewalk, I will fight you. It's so bad.
But even sometimes sometimes it's even inadvertent too, because you might have maybe your antenna's got like bits of tape flying in the wind or something, and then the tape falls down, or you're using something to tie it up, and you forget about it and stuff. So just do a check before you leave. We should do a proper
There's no malicious intent with that.
Here we go.
No.
I'm out of tea.
That's because it's all in your keyboard.
It's all in my plus sign and my negative sign.
Oh dear. So the last point that I did want to bring up, preparing before going out, is Ox Radio says access here in VK can be hard because of private property boundaries. So yeah, definitely. But before you head out, definitely check the correct way to climb the summit. That can be, through blogs and, other people who have climbed it, not necessarily ham radio operators, but other people that have climbed it for, the geocaches and just mountaineers and stuff like that. So just check the paths and where you need to go so you don't get lost as well.
There's a really good point there from Terry. Is that it's not so true in ZL. But definitely in the States and stuff. SOTA is almost always in POTA.
And here too. There's a lot in Tasmania. There's a lot of SOTA summits in like national parks. So you can activate for both programs.
So that'll be you can do VKFF as well.
Yeah.
Flora
exactly. Yep. Lionel Hammers. Yes, that's a good. Hammers is a very good logging app. We won't ask Chris
use
his experience with hammers. What do you recommend?
He fixed it. Use VK Portal Log.
Yes,
is what you should use if you
VK
are a decent
citizen. VK Portal Log's only available though for Android users.
I don't see that. Is there a problem with that? I don't see a problem.
iOS users, there is a app which fails me right now, but if you go
There's
to
a couple
Parks,
of good ones.
Yeah,
like
if you go to Parks,
SOTA Goat.
Yeah, I've got it downloaded. Let me find it.
I couldn't help you with iPhone stuff, but there are a couple of really good ones for iPhone.
Oh, So it's called Parks and Peaks is the app, and Soda Goat is the other one, which
That's
is
the one.
that's a really good one for that doesn't do logging though. Soda Goat.
Really?
That only does alerts, I believe. Yeah.
Chuck summits on the air into the App Store, and you'll be away.
Yep. The log app on my phone is Hammers.
Me too.
That we mentioned before. They've done quite a lot of updates to that app, and it's pretty good.
It looked much better than last time I looked at it, and it totally never mind. Carry on.
Yeah, Chris. Sorry, not Chris. Peter says, as the activator, you are the master and call the shots regarding frequencies, bands, modes, etc. When you're spotting, when you're self-spotting, make sure that you include all that information when you do it so that people can find you and work you. And don't spot a frequency like, say you're on 40 meters on 7.1 megahertz and then call CQ for like 5 minutes and then move on, because the problem is sometimes it takes a little bit of time for people to get to the radio to get the alert, and then once you start working one or two stations, you'll get quite a few.
Don't use that frequency either. Don't use 7.1. Don't use 7.2.
No, I was trying to think of a frequency off the top of my head.
It's 7.1.
No.
Yeah, you want to go onto the QRP, like the commonly used QRP frequencies. At Summits on the Air, we run on 7.032 and 7.09 if you're on 40.
CW 7032
7032,
and
yeah,
7090, yeah.
Yeah, don't run down to 7032, run SSB and say, Chris told me. That's not what I mean.
Yeah, Chris sent me down here. Now, Philip made a great comment. Chris did a good video on what he carries and why. Now, you've got plenty of videos on your channel of all of your adventures. So we mentioned before about going with somebody to learn the ropes. If you can't go with someone, then there is some great information on your YouTube channel, which is linked below, where you can learn all this stuff from the comfort of your lounge room before going out and how you operate. And there's some great footage. Like some of the sites that you've got in that country is just absolutely amazing. So you've like, look at this, like who would operate in freezing cold conditions?
I ran there. It took I ran that whole summit, that whole ridgeline. It was horrible. I'd do it again, but it was horrible. It was so bad.
Peter suggests calling CQ for a while before putting out a spot to reward those listening first. Excellent advice. Chris doesn't agree so much, but
spot as soon as you can, get it done and get off the peak before you die.
Well, I was going to say it all depends on the peak. If you're in a fairly low hill that you're planning on staying for a while and it's not really that bad of weather, then you can take your time to call CQ. But if you're on a freezing mountain like you were just then, you want to spot in advance and say, I'm going to be here, and like send that alert and work as many as you can.
Oh, so bad. So bad.
Yeah. So, but anyway, if you want more information on SOTA, will be linked some videos off this direction. I'll put them over Chris's face. So click on those